At Epic, we have two Epilogue Mini laser cutters. Laser cutters can be used for both engraving and cutting a range of materials. The Epilogue Mini is a small format laser cutter which allows you to cut material as large as 12 by 24 inches and up to 3/8 inch thick. These use a Class 2 CO2 laser. We have one 40-watt laser and the second is 60-watt. You can find a list of materials that can be engraved and cut on the Epilogue Laser website. Some materials you can work with are paper, cloth, acrylic, glass, and wood. Not all materials and plastics can be used. Materials inappropriate for laser cutting may burn, catch fire, melt, curl up, release toxic fumes, damage the laser cutter, or absorb the radiation and not have the desired response. The laser cutter uses a ventilation system to remove smoke, but it's not sufficient for toxic fumes. So check the approved materials list before use. Hydrogen chloride and vinyl chloride found in PVC and similar materials will damage the machine. The laser cutter cannot cut metal, but you can mark metals when they are coated with a metal marking solution. The laser cutter uses CorelDRAW graphics software, which sends jobs to the cutter similar to a standard printer. You can import files like DWG, PDF, images, or use the Corel software to make your design. The laser cutter is a great way to cut parts to assemble and create cases and other three-dimensional designs and prototypes that would be expensive and time-consuming to fabricate with a 3D printer. You can use a mix of keys, adhesives, or plastic welding compounds to join your parts after cutting. The accuracy is going to vary with material and thickness. You may have warping and rounding of edges when holes are small and the material is thick. Accuracy on the laser is plus or minus 0.01 inches. When importing images into the Corel software, you have to convert them to a drawing that the laser can use. Don't forget to invert the colors for the best representation of the original. Line drawings must be traced with a tool like the hairline outline. The laser will follow everywhere there's a line, so for cutting, make sure your lines are continuous before outlining. When you want to engrave, you input the raster settings appropriate to your material. Guides are available on the Epilogue Laser website. Under the Print menu, review the Layout tab to set the location of the job on the material sheet. And under the General tab, you can edit the printer settings for speed, power, and frequency. Engraving may be repeated if the first pass comes out too light. With some material stock, you may have to be concerned about warping from the heat. The part may curl up in the center if the engraving is slow at high power. So multiple passes at a lower power may yield a better result. There are two platforms. One looks like an open grid, and this can be used for engraving or cutting. The other is a steel surface with small vent holes, and that one can only be used for engraving. When you want to cut your material, you can use the vector setting and the suggested settings for your material. The job can also be started again if the first pass does not cut all the way through. If you wish to engrave and then cut your material afterwards, like in this demo footage, you can make your engraving and lines to cut in the same CorelDRAW file and then separate them before sending to the printer as a separate raster job and vector job. Make sure to use the grid platform when doing this so you do not have to move your material. Before you start the job, the laser must be focused. The focusing tool is used as a guide as you move the platform's height so that it aligns the top of the sheet with the bottom of the focus tool. The laser cutter is a very accessible tool, so we encourage its use for your projects at Epic.